no, no. No, 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 no.
Hey y'all, this is the Pleasure and Peace Practice, and I'm your host, Tia, your Pleasure and Peace practitioner. For those of you who may be new here, welcome. This is a space where your pleasure is not optional and your peace is sacred. Each episode, we explore things that are real, raw, and I hope restorative. Through honest conversation, evidence-based practice, and an abundance of permission, I encourage you to feel good. Whether you're here to reconnect with your body, unlearn harmful shame, or just take a breath, you belong here. Welcome in. Today, we are going to start a 3-part series called A Timeline of Pleasure, from first to last. The core idea is that pleasure is lifelong, and each stage looks different. We had that listener comment on how, in general, there's not enough information out there about what women can expect sexually as they're going through perimenopause. So I hope that this series can continue to help fill that gap and speak to that as we build on our initial 2-part episode. So over the next 3 episodes, we will be covering the early years, the middle years, and what we are going to call the wisdom years. Today, we are talking about the early years, puberty, first periods, and burgeoning sensuality. I hope that by the end of the episode, you can reclaim how you understand those early body changes and explore what those first messages were that you received around pleasure, desire, and menstruation. As we get started, let's define what is meant by the quote unquote early years. For the purposes of this podcast, let's say from the beginning of puberty up to adolescence, which ends around the age of 25. I know that's late, but research does support that what we understand as the adolescent brain with an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, our brain's rational part, isn't fully developed on average until our mid-20s. All right, so for our theme today, puberty, that first period, those early desires, they really do set the stage for our sensuality. So today, as we talk and learn together, I want to ask that you offer yourself compassion and curiosity towards your younger self. As you consider your younger self, can you recall your very first question about your body or your desire? What was it? Who did you ask about it, if anyone? Did you do your own research? Did you confer with friends? When was the first time you learned about menstruation or sexual feelings? Was it at school? At home? I remember being in elementary school and they divided up the boys and the girls into separate rooms for what I remember was phlebas. For the life of me, I cannot seem to find any record of it anywhere, but I have a very vivid memory of phlebas. So if you share a memory of phlebas from your elementary school, please share it with me so that I can know that I didn't hallucinate the whole thing. If you went to elementary school with me, or if phlebas was in your elementary school too, please write in and let me know about your experience. Anyway, you had to have parental consent, I think, to participate. And I remember sitting in a dark classroom with this big, I don't know what, I'm calling it a desktop TV. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the big box TV. I remember sitting in a dark room where they showed us this information about the inner workings of the penis and the menstrual cycle. that kind of stuff. And after we were lined up in the hallway, and I remember this boy ran down the hall yelling, "Ew, you girls are nasty." It is such a core memory. Fortunately for me, 4th or 5th grade, this was, it was not the first time I had heard this information. I had the incredible fortune of learning about sex, nocturnal emissions, menstruation, etc., from my mom and several books at the library much, much earlier than that. So I was a bit of a precocious kid, and my mom supported my curiosity. So learning about the body and what the body does was not a taboo subject. This absence of shame, silence, and confusion really helped shape who I am today. And I'm sure if you think about it, the amount of shame, silence, or confusion that you experienced at a young age about the body and what it does has shaped you too. When we think about the talk, the birds and the bees, right? Did you have a formal sit down? Who gave you that information? If you got it at all, what did they leave out? Again, I grew up in a home where I knew my parents had sex, and I knew that whenever I wanted to start having sex, I was going to enjoy it. How did I know this? I'm so glad you asked. Because my mom just flat out told me so. It was looked at as a fact of life. I very strongly remember her telling me, "Tia, me and your daddy have sex, and one day you're going to be having sex too, and you're going to love it." So it was just a fact of life. I recognize that not every person got to experience a sex positive household. And that's part of why I do this work now. Growing up with the understanding that sex is just a fact, people have it, and I can choose to engage in it one day and have a great time. It really took the pressure off. I never felt like it was something I had to rush towards. Today, I get to sit in front of you fine people and talk about sex and pleasure all day to help you have more of it and in a way that feels good to you. Now, imagine growing up in an environment where periods were seen as a burden. Sex was viewed as scary or sinful, or the body was construed as a dangerous or embarrassing thing. You might not have to imagine. Maybe that's your reality. Perhaps you've watched enough reality TV or cult documentaries that you understand where I'm coming from, even if you haven't experienced it personally. When there is an absence of language for pleasure, consent, and curiosity, that's a breeding ground for shame and secrecy. If there was a secrecy around your body at an early age, your early experiences of pleasure may have been distorted. Ask yourself, when was pleasure, sexual pleasure in this case, first, quote unquote, discovered? Was it through touch, daydreams, the media? Was there early shame around masturbation? Maybe being weird or having concern about being caught, like as if you were a thief taking something that doesn't belong to you. Isn't it strange how even the language we use, not wanting to get caught, the meaning behind it, as if our bodies don't belong to us in the first place? If during your younger years, you did not feel like your body was yours and that pleasure is good, did that cause some harm for adult intimacy and self permission once you got older? This, of course, is not to say that every single child and adolescent has curiosity. A lack of curiosity is also okay and can be normal. There are some people who are just late bloomers and others who are asexual. For those of us who had early experiences with desire overshadowed by shame or secrecy, while it may have prevented you from asking or searching, I bet it didn't stop your body from responding. Maybe it was a flutter in your chest or a song that made your stomach flip. Even when our heads don't understand, oftentimes our bodies do. Those young adolescent years were the time when our identity, gender, orientation even may begin to whisper. Now, whether we listened or not, that's a different story. It's at this stage where we might want to try experimenting with our appearance and have those goosebumps when around certain peers. It really is a beautiful stage to explore if given the opportunity. I know when I was in that stage, I used to wear this really bright eye makeup for some reason. I don't know why. My mom, I think, also wore makeup at the time, and I just wanted to be more womanish, but I used to play in that. So it's an interesting, fun time. Unfortunately, too many of us are also bombarded with cultural messages that leave emotional imprints that may discourage exploration. Perhaps there are messages from the media, religion, family, friends about what quote unquote good girls do, or how I'm sure you've heard the term boys will be boys. These messages often embed feelings of fear, inadequacy, things about getting pregnant, being sexualized, being a sexualizer, being judged. I know some of you listening might think, what's wrong with the fear of getting pregnant? Children need to be scared to get pregnant. I'm an adult. I'm scared to get pregnant. Let's take a moment to pause there. While I agree with you that children becoming pregnant from sexual intercourse is not a desirable outcome, choosing to scare them into not having sex at all is not the healthiest answer. Empowering them to know their bodies and understand consent leads to better outcomes, and evidence has shown that when children and teenagers are empowered with knowledge, they are more likely to make better choices. Who would have thought? When we are silent or silenced, shout out to Oprah, due to shame, that hinders our ability to be intimate with others and with ourselves. What are some things that your younger self needs to hear right now? I invite you to write a letter to your younger self and be compassionate towards them. I invite you to consider engaging in EMDR, which stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, as a way to safely process childhood traumas without traumatizing yourself. As I mentioned in season 1, episode 1, I am a certified EMDR therapist. And while I am not currently seeing clients, I do intend to resume seeing clients soon by offering intensives in the future. So, an EMDR intensive is when you sit for a therapeutic session, and that session lasts anywhere from 3 hours to maybe 8 hours a day. And you might do this for one day or up to, I've seen some people might do it for 5 days. And some people might even break these intensives up over the course of a couple of weekends. The idea is that you are targeting core beliefs and core memories as a way to clear out negative patterns of behavior. If you are interested in learning more about that, please send an email to EMDR at Tia Conway, LCSW.com, and I would love to connect more with you. It's time now for our anonymous segment, Whisper in My Ear, a space for your questions, curiosities, and confessions. No shame, no judgment, just real talk and truth. Today, we have a question. question. What if I never felt curious about sex as a teenager? Is something wrong with me? So, for that listener and anyone else who resonates with this question, the answer is a resounding no. There are many people who do not feel desire until later in adolescence or well after. There are many people who, due to cultural suppression, trauma, neurodiversity, or just plain different pace of development, don't feel that curiosity in their teens. While the external factors, such as cultural suppression and trauma, are not okay per se, they are common. Pleasure doesn't have a timeline. Some people might tap into it at 13, others might not tap into it until 30. Wherever you are, at whatever stage of life right now, I hope that you can make peace with who you were so that you can really be with who you are today. I hope this was helpful. For those listening, remember that if you have any questions, comments, curiosities, or want to respond in any way, do not hesitate to comment, slide in my DMs, or comment anonymously via the link in the summary portion of this show and in my social media bio. Next time, we will be talking about the middle years, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and power. Thank you for being here, for listening, for getting curious with me. Whether it's a question, a story, or a truth, still finding words, this space is for you. Whatever it is, you don't have to hold it alone. Ask, share, confess. We're in this together. And if you've got something on your heart, drop it anonymously using the link in the show notes or over on Instagram. If this episode moved you, helped you, or made you feel seen, share it with a friend, leave a rating, or drop a comment. Your support helps this space grow. Follow me on Instagram and Threads at Pleasure and Peace with Tia for more. Until next time, remember, I've got you and you've got this. Talk to y'all soon.